Howdy all. Hopefully, everything's working. It's a good bit of a complicated one today because not only have I got podcast idea change, special guest, special co-host guest. Obviously with the new change, I've got many other things to do the production, and it's still me who's doing all the production. So apologise early doors. Just go on the chat. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the first podcast. As you saw by the introduction screen, I didn't make the logos, by the way. I'm not responsible for that. I'm not taking responsibility from that whatsoever. I don't look like that in real person. Obviously my eyebrows aren't as dark. But then you've also got the math nut. And we will introduce the math nut in a second. So very, very quickly, Bill's in the house. So chat has been going on, as you can see, like there. And so I was a bit late to this anyway. I was trying to get the bits and pieces working. And so Andy has been jumping on and has already answered Bill's question. But good question, Bill. Basically, Bill was just asking about is the website, www.askgolfnut.com, or the information on there, say for launch factor, spin rates, etc. Are they loft for loft adjusted? Yes. So every single thing on that side of things, at least, is measured. So if everything was measured, say 30 degrees, whatever the number would be, doesn't matter. Yeah. How well does a golf club spin because of its CG placement or anything else like that? If everything was exactly the same. So there you go. Right, so Carl says, really looking forward to see if we can see Jay's mouth moving when Andy talks. Just, yeah, the powers of AI. Bill saying, thanks. Name withdrawn. I noticed that you have a lot more wrist hinge with your driver than me. Is that a result of one plane swing? Technically, yes. That's a very, very good, We'll get into that one in a sec. I'll introduce Andy. I'll definitely introduce Andy. I've got to make sure if I've got the right one selected when it comes to the output of my microphone. We'll find out if I get it wrong. Timothy, nice nuts. That's a different online stream, but Ryan F, all this podcast excitement has given me a funny feeling in my, I shouldn't have called myself AskGolfNut, should I? Really? I knew at one point everything was going to go down in some kind of childish. Alex in the house. Hello, Alex. Hope you're well. 369. Evening all. Looking forward to this MX5 driver. There you go. Hi Jay. I'm confused about iron shaft. Does shaft weight affect swing weight? Yes, it can do, but that also depends on the balance point of it. So you could actually, by putting in a heavier static weight shaft, but depending on where that weight distribution is on the shaft, you could find out actually you could change the swing weight either way. If we go into a bit more techie stuff and all that lot, I'm quite happy to answer all those things. But the great thing with Andy being on, which we'll introduce him in literally a couple of seconds, he can go probably into far more detail than I. CK, time for a name change. Oh, so who was, for my name change, absolutely, definitely. Right, Adrian's in the house. Hello, Adrian. Hope you are well. Right, so my, I'm going to try and flick it over now, and there will be literally probably a half a second or a second gap before we'll say anything on the basis that I have to turn all the audio on. And if I've got it wrong now, it may be another second or a half. So fingers crossed. Here's where we go over to Andy. There we see. So I'll need to click that one, click that one. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'll get rid of that one. So now, yep, there you go. Andy's in the house. Say hello to Andy. Right, and as you can see, my mouth is moving, but Andy is not talking. So Andy is real. Just for all the people on Discord who don't think as such. So, welcome Andy. Everyone in the chat say hello to Andy. Nicely, please. You can see on the right-hand side, we have, not only we have us, the pleasure of us and our faces, we have next to us, we have the chat. And next to that, of which I can't point to because obviously my hand will go out the screen, we have the agenda. Agenda, see what I did with that? Agenda. That was all me, by the way. No help needed.
Talking about that for 3 days.
Yeah, I was I was quite impressed with that. So we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to have everyone's saying hello, Andy. See? If I flick over to this screen here, I think I can give some love. There you go. So we've got some things to talk about. We've got some topics to talk about. Also, anyone want to drop anything into the chat? Obviously, you guys know, who have watched me for quite some time in my live streams, you know how up to date on the chat I always am. I'm always on it. I'm never behind, ever. So by all means, put some bits and pieces in there. And if I neglect to, because I'm concentrating on other things, because I've got production to do as well, I'm sure Andy will pipe up, hopefully, and put me right.
Well, I'm going to be just as bad now because we get the delay of like 2 minutes as well. So.
But yeah, so so Andy and I are talking to each other via obviously live video stream, and it's going to go on the internet as well. So that's a 5-second delay anyway, generally speaking, between live and what YouTube processes. So that's why sometimes there's a small delay in the chat and when we answer. Right, so little nut reporting in. I really should have called myself something different. Really should have done. Right, okay, so let's go topic one very, very quickly. Let's just do that. So www.askgolfnut.com. I've labelled it from strength to strength because it has done exceptionally well over the last few months, and it went live sort of back end-ish of December, late 2024. Really didn't get properly going until January, but that's when it opened up. It has grown and grown quite quickly. And with the information that we're gathering more and more in the way of irons and what will be coming drivers and more drivers soon. And I will hand over to Andy in a little while to talk about the driver side of things, because when it comes to the irons, we have done the classic advanced data and everything. We haven't done that with drivers. Reason being, we didn't have enough data. And so I need to re-hit some of the heads to gain enough information so we can use that information for the advanced flight data for the driver, etc. But we'll come to that one a little bit, because I have got a little snapshot, a little caption Andy can describe. You'll love it.
Awesome.
Right, so basically the whole idea, before we go into other things, the whole idea of Ask GolfNut, guys, for the people that have not watched our content before, was my previous before YouTube was full-time coach custom fitter. And so the reason I stopped doing coaching custom fitting was the basis of when I was doing my coaching custom fitting. On the custom fitting side, obviously selecting what irons that people would have, etc. I could only sort of help 8 people or so per day. Even if I'm really, really busy, I could only help 8 to 10. If I did a really long day of coaching custom fitting, I could only help. But you do YouTube, you can reach thousands and hopefully get the word across to thousands. Now, the problem is, even in a video when people have got questions, and I have answers to them, I can only do that in a set. The great thing with AskGolfNut.com, we have all the heat maps on there, we have all the flight data, and we have got the self-fit tool. And if no one has seen the self-fit tool, just watch the latest video that I've literally just done on the ZXi5. The self-fit tool for people that it's just brilliant. Now, I didn't make it.
Brilliant.
There's no chance of me making that. There's a certain individual below me here who made that. I still don't know how he done it. And it recalculates every single time you move a slider. You see the plots. It is quite cool. I know, Andy, I won't ask you how you made it because no one will understand. So
it's the second iteration. The first iteration was a little bit different, and then we re-upgraded it so that it actually drew the flights in real time rather than estimating the flights.
I'll try to remember now.
Yeah.
It got the first generation of it was not simple, wasn't simple at all. But then the second gen got very, very complex. It was complex, but the great thing with having all the, it's not just the 7 irons in there, it gives you the flight for all the rest of them as well. It's really quite good. Right, what have we got in the chat? Have I lost or neglected anyone? CK, for some reason, wants to know the percentage of females in his podcast. Well, at the moment, the percentage is none, because Andy and I
0. Wow.
We're not going to get into those kind of topics and stuff like that because depending on which side of the fence you sit on, it could be a rather polarizing podcast. Right, so Titleist should be on the agenda. It should be. Okay, for everyone, I struggle with Titleist because I've tried to reach out to them, I don't know how many times now in 2024. They effectively, without going into all the details, they've ignored me. So that's rude, for one. And I have recently, again, tried to contact them and haven't heard anything back yet. But I will, as I always have done before, they give them a certain amount of time before I then try again. And I might actually just do it every week or every 2 days, so to the point they just irritate them so badly that they decide to say something. But yeah, that's why we haven't got any Titleist. Their own fault.
They could be the best clubs on the planet. We'd never know. We'll never know. They
could well be. Absolutely. Yeah. They could be brilliant. I mean, we've captured some really good, really mediocre, and all the range of really forgiving off the toe, not forgiving off the toe, really forgiving off the heel, not forgiving off the heel, to suit all different types of golfers who have their miss pattern on different parts of the face. Titleist could be sitting on effectively the best golf clubs ever made, but I can never truly recommend anyone buy Titleist because I haven't tested it and I don't know how they work. So how can I recommend something that I haven't tested? But there you go. It's their own fault on that one. As soon as they come through, if they ever come through, I can guarantee you I will drop whatever I am doing and I will concentrate on doing the iron videos. Get them up there because people want to know.
Get a backlog in the catalog to try and keep up.
Have I ever? Not only have I got the normal reviews, but I've got every comparison under the sun that everyone wants me to do. But again, going on to agenda, topic 1, with the fact of AskGolfNut.com, technically, I never need to do a comparison video ever again, apart from 2 things. 1, what it looks like, but everyone will know what it looks like, and 2, how it feels. And those are very subjective, and different people will like different things anyway, because all of the objective information, all the data collected, will all be on AskGolfNut.com, and the website members will be able to find out for themselves exactly, not just how it works for me, which I'll do in a video, but because of the self-fit tool, how it works for them.
It almost makes you redundant.
It does. I could just not bother. Just go, just pop them up in there. There you go. That's what they look like. They feel quite, this one feels softer. That one feels a bit harder. Just go on the website.
I mean, that's what we renamed the self-fit tool, J2.0.
Yeah, it would save me minutes and minutes and minutes. Right, so have we got anything else? Hopefully Ski 350's audio is not breaking up anymore. Anthony says, audio sometimes gets weird on YouTube lives. Yes, try dropping the video resolution to 720 or lower. Well, you don't want my face on super detail anyway. Carl says audio is good. Well, that is good, hopefully. Everything looks... MX5 driver says self-fit is awesome. And it is. Because if I had, and I've said this in videos before, if I had that self-fit tool, when I was coaching and custom fitting full time, I would have saved myself so many wasted calories. And yeah, I don't know what my carbon footprint is of me wasting my breath for doing those conversations over and over and over again. When someone says, oh, I've got to have a 3-iron. What? You swing at 76 miles an hour. You don't need a 3-iron. Oh, but I've always had a 3-iron. Well, yeah. And we all go through the fact that, yes, that was when you were swinging 20 mile an hour faster, and the fact that lofts were decidedly less strong than they are now.
3 wood and a 3-iron.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Right, so, how are we getting on with the chat? If you could give one tip to stop thinning bunker shots, what would it be? Understand low point. So, okay, what I would do, and I've done this loads of times with people that struggle with low point, it is a really simple drill, and it is done, and it's been said 1,000 times. Get in a bunker first of all, and you've got to get your club and draw a line, yeah, and then just swing and hit. Where do you bottom out as a general pattern for your swing? Yeah, because you could go through the whole idea of, okay, let's change your whole bunker setup, the whole bunker swing to try and change your low point, etc. But as long as your low point control is within a certain range of sensibility, it's not like you don't swing and you're taking like a massive chunk divot 1 yard behind you. As be sensible. But if you are in and around sensible, if that's your pattern, run with it. Unless you want to go through all the swing changes, but see where you hit and then use your ball position to then dictate that. Yes, it will potentially restrict what kind of flight that you might be able to play, but the main thing is for amateur golfers, get the ball out of the bunker. Don't leave it in there. Just get it out. Doesn't care where it goes. Well, not 100 yards that way is probably not the answer, especially if it's a greenside bunker. But just get the golf ball out. And so that's the most important thing. Have we got anything here where it is much more suited to Andy's than me?
Not so far.
Don't hit it in the bunker in the first place.
Good advice. That's why I had to avoid leaving myself a chip, but if I don't have to chip, it's like 10 shots
hit the
a hole.
greens.
Yep.
Saying that though, as a Kimbo's piece of advice there may sound flippant and funny, but it's actually perfect advice. If you've got loads and loads of time and you've identified a weakness, absolutely spend as much time in the bunker as you can do to try and get better at your weaknesses. Don't work on your strengths because you're already good at them, but work on your weaknesses. If you haven't got time, you're busy with a full-time job, busy with family life, for example, that kind of gets in the way of golf. But if you're busy doing those things and you cannot dedicate yourself to hours and hours of practice, just make sure you do every single thing you can do to stay away from the things which you struggle with. And if that's bunkers, just do your best to stay out of them. Kyle's local rule is all bunkers ground under repair.
So wondering what GUR was.
Yeah. Do you call it different in America?
No. Just
cool.
Never seen it.
Not in the sim, anyway. I haven't got much ground under repair here, actually, to be fair. Although
out of all the acronyms, that's the one you know. Like, normally there's an acronym there and you don't get it, but that one, straight away.
Well, no, there are some acronyms that it's American only. And I look and I'm going, what? I haven't got a clue what that is. That's because I'm on the wrong side of the pond for that acronym. You've got an advantage on that, Andy, because you've been on both sides at one point. Okay, so here we go. Name Withdrawn has asked a question. What is Andy's speciality? Over
Risotto.
to you. Yeah, I can't cook. Go on, Andy, explain.
Excel.
No, don't explain Excel. Don't leave your secrets away, but explain you a bit.
I mean, assuming we mean the golf course. I mean, I stopped playing golf for 15 years when I moved to the States and came here, didn't know anybody really. Golf became like something, not really on the table. So, in about 2018, I started playing a lot again with the guys from work, and my swing was awful. Like, I was flippy, outside in, risk slicing irons, and when COVID hit, I was in the garage, like, just hitting balls, 100, 200 balls a day, rebuilding a swing from scratch. I wouldn't even full swing. I'd just go quarterback, and then like a half follow through, just to get the path over and over again. Quick inside flip, and just learning how to put the much power on the ball as you could in that short space. And once I got that down, the rest was, all of a sudden you get a full swing and things are going 200 miles an hour all of a sudden.
And your full swing is A full
Full
swing.
swing. Yeah.
Much
Yeah,
more
it's kind of
fuller.
weird. You would think with all the quarterback practice I did that it would have stayed short, but as soon as I started full swinging, it's just I don't know what it is. Like for me, it feels like the clubs are like right behind my head, like 270 degrees, like you expect, but really it's more like 315.
Yeah.
And
A couple of those drives, you think you're going to hit it on the way back.
yeah, I don't know
Ball
if I have a
backwards.
speciality. I guess I got really good at hitting specific numbers with my irons. Like I learned how to just take a couple of yards off with my irons, and that allows hitting greens at a distance a lot easier when you can really just adjust a couple of yards off your normal swing distance.
But the interesting thing,
Obviously,
how do you do it? How do you do it?
um, mostly I don't change the swing. I change a little bit of ball position, half a ball forward, half a ball back. Half a ball back will tend to keep it a little bit shorter than half a ball forward. I get a little bit higher launch, a little less spin. It goes out a little further. And then just like how much I push the hips forward. If I lay back a little bit with the hips, I get a bit more lofty shot, and that adds a little bit of loft, or I hit down on it and keep it low, and it usually comes out of the sky a little earlier. So just those little bits and pieces, really.
Interesting.
But I guess my true specialty is putting. Like my putting average is ridiculously low. Usually, I rarely. I don't three put. Like if I'm on the green, I'm expecting to one put most of the time.
Wow.
And that's just because I keep myself. I plan to be within 15 feet. If I'm within 15 feet, I'm expecting a one put. I get upset if I two put from inside 15.
PJ Tour putting. So the interesting thing, I take distance off or add a bit of distance, say like in between clubs, via doing a very slight draw or a very slight fade. I do trajectory change to get that in between distance.
Well, my swing shape, trying to change that to add. There's no adding a fade to that.
No, I'm lucky to get fairly straight. So
it's either a lot of draw or not quite as much draw, but it's hard. It's much harder to change the shot shape to change distance. So I kind of change my angle of attack just a little bit to change the spin profile.
Sergeant Pepper, what a name. Looking at getting some new irons this year, 10 handicap, like in last year's Strixon ZX5 Mark II, or Dynapower Forged. Well, Dynapower Forged, what, from last year or from this year? Two different irons. Both, or say both, all three we have on the database, don't we, Andy? The Dynapower Forged, old and new.
Well, no, there is no Dynapower Forged new one. We only have the old Forged, and it's the new Dynapower and Dynapower Max from this year.
Oh.
The Forged is from last year.
There you go. But we have those on the website. So
yeah, I mean those are very different clubs, aren't they? The Dynapower Forged and the ZX Mark II.
Very.
Yeah.
Very shiny, the Dynapower.
I mean, they're both pretty good in their own way, but they're different. They're completely different ball flight dynamic.
Yeah, where they're forgiving from as well is slightly different, and
yeah, surprising that Dynapower is a relatively high CG for it's not as game improvement as you would think it is.
Kind of does that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's very, very green like that, rather than which is great if you're a lateral misser. If you're heel toe lateral misser, don't get low in the face.
Yeah, if you've got good low point control, but struggling with other things, that's really good.
Right, we got Anthony says, don't have to get this cue right away, but my 925Fs came in, Tour Light stiff shafts. Now my high rev 115 shafts seem so heavy. What do I do there? Match the iron shafts. Right, okay. Personally, from a fitter's point of view, unless you're talking about a golfer with a extremely good short game, like a properly good short game, really knows the nuances of the short game and knows the nuances of themselves and what they like the feel of, etc. They're not skilled enough to utilize the differences in like the shaft weight that affects this and stuff. I always like keep inconsistency down to a minimum. Keep every single thing so you don't go from your pitching wedge then to your custom whatever it be, your 50 or whatever. And there's a massive difference. It will just put you off, especially if you go from a pitching wedge to a gap wedge and you still use your gap wedge at normal speed like you would do your pitching wedge. We got two completely different golf clubs there. So I always say, within reason for the vast majority of people, just keep your custom fit shaft all the way through. And then obviously for very, very good players or players that do like over the years of experience notice that they like a certain this or a certain that, yes, you can then blend into that. But I wouldn't necessarily. I keep it simple, stupid. I'm a great fan of that. That's my opinion anyway. Andy, what do you think?
Yes.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Keep it simple.
Adrian says, one good bit of advice from Mark was go with middle to back green distances, take bunkers out of play largely. But yeah, everyone should be going, generally speaking, from middle to the back, most probably the back. Hardly any amateur golfers hit it long. And the one time out of 1,000 they do, that is the number that they think they're going to hit all their shots going forward. That's why everyone's 7-iron. They say they hit X amount of distance, but never do. And that is why they say they always hit the drive X amount of distance and never do. So if you want to be as accurate as you can do when it comes to you hitting that number, bear it in mind. Andy, is it an American thing or is it sort of within reason? Because I thought UK greens were smaller, but the 27-yard green stat?
It's pretty universal. There are some, tougher British courses scattered around. I think that, historically smaller greens, but I mean, there's some. I mean, one of the courses that I play on has one of the sets of 9 is really, really small fairways, small greens, way below average, and then the other one of the other 9s is big fairways, big greens. So I don't think it's a UK versus US thing. I think it's just course to course.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's so many courses that I played in the UK with very small greens, relatively small greens. And a lot of it is TV driven. You watch TV, watch golf on TV, and you see these massive green complexes. But then I suppose if you go up in Scotland and you go on to some of these links courses, where especially like St Andrews, etc., where sometimes you have shared greens, and there's colossal things. But yeah, if you know you'll miss it when it comes to, you've seen the stuff when it comes to the reviews that I do, and you have those dispersion rings. Effectively, you need to know what your dispersion is front to back. Left to right is you, but you need to know where you are front to back. And then with that, and that's the great thing with Arcos and others as well, but Arcos is possibly, it's one of the best out there at least. And if you look at all the stats from Arcos, the amount of people which predominantly hit all their approach shots short, yeah, either take more club or just be a little bit more realistic as to how far you actually hit it on average.
Yeah, it's just risk versus reward, isn't it? Like if you know that the bunker's within your miss hit carry range, but your next club up is only going to be maybe 6 yards further, then play that one because unless there's a bunker at the back too, and then what course are you playing on? Where you got no room on the side.
All you'd end up doing then is you take the pick of, okay, where's the pin? Is the pin at the back or pin at the front? If the pin's at the front, I'm taking the longer, because if it goes at least the bunker at the back, I've got more green to work with, and then vice versa the other way around. But again, that's situational based, but there you go. Michael Johnson says, as a one-arm swinger, it's possible I have more swing speed with a mini driver than a full size. Well, okay, the mini driver is smaller, so it doesn't have so much aerodynamic drag. However, generally speaking, it's also much shorter shafted, so one will definitely not, you'll be swinging the driver faster. I almost seems I hit my 22-degree Cali heavenward as far as my 16-degree PXG 211 driver. I'd love to see the dynamics on that. I'd love to see your delivery dynamics and ball dynamics and find like swing speeds, etc., and see what we got to play with, because it's very difficult for me to give any advice on the basis of not understanding that, because that could be a myriad of different things. Like, happily on Discord, send messages on Discord will help. 369 says, what do you do for a living? I'm assuming that does not mean me.
All right. Recently, I've been mostly as a data analyst for companies, analyzing all company metrics top to bottom. I don't work at a single job. I take contracts. Usually, that kind of job is companies need it on demand rather than full time.
You like the accountant, aren't you, Ben?
Yeah, you get called in usually when they like end of year reviews and before tax season. A lot of companies want to go top to bottom of their companies, and they bring in somebody to analyze all their numbers and stuff. So
sounds exciting.
So when you present all the data afterwards, and all the board members are like, "Oh, this can't be right. This can't be right." Rah, rah, rah. But yeah, that's when it gets a little interesting.
Steve McCoy says, here in America, bunkers aren't much of a penalty anymore. They're actually a ball out area at times. Any more with how well they're manicured, it used to be penalty to hit in there. It does seem to be on face value, at least. Again, I have not seen every single golf course in America, but there just does seem to be a difference when you go abroad and play, and when you go to America and play, and you see the condition of golf courses. And a lot of it is down to purely, it's the growing potential. It's the fact that in the UK we have distinct seasons, and sometimes it's not the greatest thing for growing. And so you go to somewhere else with a much more stable climate, and the grass can grow all year round. It is different sometimes. You go somewhere and you go, wow. There was a story, I can't remember who was telling me, it was very recently, and I can't remember now who it was, but it was, anyway, he went on holiday, and he was on this massive, it was actually a tee box, he didn't realise it was a tee box, and he gets his putter out, and he starts putting on the tee box, because he thought it was a green. It was that big, and the grass was that good, that he thought it was the green, and it was, no, that's a tee box. He's like,
oh, you mean like a practice green?
He thought it was a practice green. Yeah, he was just about to tee off.
I thought, does he think it was the green on the first hole? He's like, this is good. You start right on the green.
Yeah. Going to score low on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said that
he still gets a 3. Par 3, yeah. He still gets a 3.
Right. So I understand bounce different versus live situations, but if you're only playing roughly 2 times a week, would it be better for an amateur to play an identical mid-bounce and grind across all wedges? No. Okay, this is a piece of advice that I've basically gone down with, and again, Andy, you can pop in on this one if you think I've got it wrong, feel free, because for people that don't have a lot of money, what I mean by a lot of money is the fact that they go for a custom fit, they have their irons, they have their wedges, and really you're looking at the complement of their irons to try and get as much use out of as little golf clubs as possible, because again, the whole idea, they haven't got money just sort of growing out their ears. And so when it comes to wedges, most people can't afford to have many sets of, so even if they're the same loft but having different grind for one and bounce for 2, they can't do that. So what I end up doing is, for people that have to have as much versatility as possible within their wedge setup, it comes down to their 58, 60, whatever it'll be, and their 54, 55, 56, whatever the next one will be. As a general rule, I'll be putting the mid ones, so you got your gap wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge, the sand wedge, I'll be getting as much bounce on that as I possibly can, and then when it comes to their 60, 58, whatever it be, I'll be having a moderate, not a massive amount of bounce, just a normal amount of bounce. Reason being, because when you get in the bunkers or situations where you've got really, really soft ground, bounce is your friend. It really is. You don't want to chunk it, and that's the biggest thing. The biggest problem about you being in the rough, you being in the bunker, is not how close you can get it to the pin, it's if you are still there after your next shot. and you want to get it out of where you are onto the green so you can putt. And so having those situations, those conditions where you've got really, 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 as in the case of you dig your feet in, don't you know, when you get into a bunker and you put your feet and you dig it in like this, and you're going down. You're going lower and lower and lower. You're still going down. For those, you need bounce. If not, you are just going to get that dig, no problem. There you go. So loads of bounce. On the other ones where you've got skinny bunkers, no sand in them whatsoever, you get your highest lofted, but it hasn't got a lot of bounce, but it's got loads of loft. So you don't have to play it with a massively open face. If not, you'll get that dunk and scull it. That is what I've always said, to try and give as much versatility as possible with all the different conditions that people may face in just 2 wedges. I would prefer people to have more, but then obviously money dictates sometimes it's different. What do you think, Andy?
I'm not the guy to ask. I chip with a C wedge.
Oh yeah, your short game's not your specialty, is it?
I chip with a C wedge, and then I have a 56-13 sand wedge. So like I just whack as hard as I can in the sand with that, because I know it's gonna come out. And then the C wedge has such a wide flat sole that I don't worry about either digging or I try to dig it, because my miss with the wedge is I tend to catch the ball too much first, and the bottom lip of the wedge catches the ball before in the ground, because I guess rebuilding my swing and doing ball first is now that sometimes I'm too much ball first with the wedge, especially when it come too much inside, and so I don't like the whole concept of specialty grinds and bounces. To me, just this is like, I can't, if you can hit the same shot twice with any wedge, or even like 3 times in a row, right? Then you can start worrying about, the bounce is going to matter to me. But if you can't hit the same shot twice with any wedge, what does it matter? Because obviously you're not presenting the club just the same way twice. So why would bounce and grind matter?
Goes back to understanding low point again. Hit the line, get the line of sand, draw the line, hit it, and to swing, see where you hit it, and then build a pattern from where you know you can hit it. Yes, you can. There's other ones where, in case you draw the line in the sand and then you practice hitting a certain, as in you enter it just after the line, just after the line, just after the line. But I mean, you're talking about a slight swing change, etc. And as long as your low point is within a certain realm of sensibility, again, just learn that, and that will get you out of bunkers. But good point. Right, so let's just do this one because people want to know the Shrixon update. Now, so people have seen this ZXi.
You make an agenda and then we're out of order already. But
I know, it's right. It's fine. The Shrixon update. ZXi 7, hopefully everyone has seen the video. Like it. And just done the ZXi 5 video. So again, like it. The ZXi 4. Now, the interesting thing with the ZXi, and Andy will be able to explain this a lot better than I. The reason why the ZXi 4 has not come out yet, or at least for the gold tier members on the website, you get access to all of the stuff that is going on behind the scenes, like all the clubs that are still to be put on. You get it early. That's the great thing with the gold tier access. You get all the flight, advanced flight data, you get all the heat maps, and you get the self-fit tool, and you get access to all the stuff that's sitting there on disabled, not enabled onto the website. When we were doing, like I say, let's bring it back to day one. I started doing the data sets for ZXi4. Got the 7-iron, hit it at 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, no problem. And then I started doing the data sets that we require for the heat map. So basically me just swinging exactly the same, as best I can do, but just whacking it all over the face. Weird and wonderful shots. So low, center toe, center heel, mid, as in center, and then center toe, center heel. You kind of get the idea. And when I was hitting it, the main thing, it was the middle. And I can remember, because I was on the phone to Andy at the time talking about something completely randomly different. And something's not right with this iron. And why is that? Well, because I've just hit a shot about 3 shots ago, right out the screws, delivered this loft, delivered this face to path, and blah, 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 right out the middle, and it was 1.39. I've just done the exact same thing within a tiny margin of error, 1.37. What on earth is causing a 0.02 difference for me, basically exactly the same shot? And we had this a few different times. And I sent the data set over to Andy, and Andy looked at it and went, yeah, there's something not right with this iron. So, okay, let's scrap today. Let's do this tomorrow. I will do it with a new ball. I will take the dots off the face, the HMT dots, so the quad nose or the head dynamics, put new dots on, and quad is turned off, quad is turned back on again, recalibrates, and we're going to do it again. And the same thing happened again. And of course, we all knew that anyway. And the conversation that I had with Andy at the time, we said, look, you can do that, but we've done tests before, different people with the same golf club, different speeds, even with the same golf club. When you do the adjustments, the heat maps don't change. The golfer may change, but the club doesn't. The club is still the club.
Don't lie.
It doesn't. And so I ignored him. I've done it 3 times.
It's like my wife.
Three data sets I hit with ZXi4. And again, exactly the same thing. It was just an utter mess. And so when you programmed all the information into the heat map tech, it had a brain fart. Depending on what you wanted to call middle, whether you wanted to call the center of the face the fastest part, whether you wanted to see the center part of the face an average of all of the center hits, which covered super fast ones and, well, mediocre ones. I wouldn't say they were slow, but I would say they were, speed-wise. You would get 2 completely same shape heat map, but one's like tiny and one goes out like this because obviously it's measuring from the middle. But when the golf club doesn't even know itself, which it's there's something wrong.
Got an identity crisis. Iron's having an identity crisis.
Yeah, Andy, just explain a little bit how the heat maps work. As like rudimentary as you can, so people who are watching will understand the maths as such.
So yeah, we have to start with a value, and that value is we get several center strikes, and we look at the smash factor from the center strikes, and we use that as a baseline. And then Jay hits all the other shots at various places across the face. We measure those smash values. We take the difference between the center value and that location value, and then divide it by the distance away from the middle. So that gives us a smash loss per millimeter. The average iron is around about 0.2% per millimeter. So from a 10 millimeter miss, you expect around about a 2% drop off. But we were seeing a 10 millimeter miss from the center. Effectively, we on some shots we were seeing what we would normally expect from 10 millimeters away to be coming off the center. So yeah, depending on whether you used the low center values or the high center values, your heat map would be really good or really bad. So obviously that neither of them could be right, because what is right when you've got 2 different conflicting values? You can't say it's the average is right, because you're actually not getting the average. You're getting the high and the low. The average is not what you're seeing. So
and this what drew us to a completely different conversation about adding another metric about the sweet spot consistency, which is something we're still working on the whole idea of, and how we're going to introduce it into the website, whether it's like a radar chart thing or something, I don't know, but it was an interesting one. So I reached out to Strixon because for the people that watch any of the content, the whole idea from my point of view is to make sure that the information that I put out there for you guys to see is transparent, it's done under the best possible conditions, and it's right. Yep. So if there is a hint of anything not working as it should do because of a potential problem with the iron, my first thought was, okay, let's change the ball, let's change the dots, let's change the quad, as in the case of turn it off and on again, reset everything, And Andy's like, still going to be exactly the same. You can do it, it's still going to be exactly the same. As me thinking, look, okay, yes, but when I have a conversation with Strixon, they're going to want to know that I've done all this and done all that. So let's just, so obviously 3 times later, still the same problem. It was about time I spoke to Strixon and said, look, I need to speak to someone in the like product development side of things because there is something very funky with the 7 iron that I've got here. Now, obviously, ZXi 4 is hollow bodied, super fast, hot, thin plate face, and is designed to do what it's designed to do. And so, of any design, if there's going to be a defect, let's call it potential, in any golf club, generally speaking, it will happen on a hollow, tightly engineered, very close to its limits of face thickness, etc. iron. And that goes for anything game improvement as well. It's not just picking on hollow bodied irons or anything. If it's a game improvement iron with a very similar design or anything, that's the kind of thing you're going to get. So I sat up a meet with them. Strixon were brilliant. I must admit, they were quite happy to take on board everything that I said. They went through the different things about, okay, what was the temperature and all this lot. So I give them credit for trying to nail down all the little bits of criteria they need to meet to make sure that I'm doing what I'm doing correctly. And they're really good. They said, look, best thing we can do is get that iron uplifted so we can then basically strip it to pieces to see if there's a micro crack in it. And of course, I test hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of golf clubs, and this is the first time that I have had a brand new golf club and I've thought, was there something wrong with it? So tolerances are tight, but QC, generally speaking, is brilliant. So I wouldn't in any way anyone have any issues whatsoever with thinking that their ZXi 4s that they're going to buy or have bought are going to be faulty in any way. It's not that at all. It was just a case of sheer sod's law that it's got to a point of where I think may have one. Now, they're going to send a brand new one out. Exactly the same specs as the one that I had, so we can keep everything apples for apples. And I'll do the exact same test. I'll hit it another, not 3 this time, but I'll hit it another data set and get a heat map on it. And this will be it. And once this one is out, that will be it. And do you know what? If this new one exhibits the same pattern of inconsistency from the middle, then it will have to be a pattern of the design of the iron and it will be released.
Dum, dum, dum.
If, however, it turns out that actually it's pretty good and I did have a Duff iron, then again, it's better to do it and do it right and do it transparent and do it fairly to both the viewer and the company than just stick something else out there that you guys are going to be looking at. And if I had a defect iron, that is not then fair for you guys that are going to be thinking about buying a ZXi 4 because you're working on information which is not right. There we go. Have we got anything on the chat that I have missed necessarily? Coolly. Oh, right. So, topic very close to my heart. The mini driver obsession. Now, everyone seems to love it. I am on the fence. I absolutely can see a reasoning why mini drivers exist for a certain percentage of people. Andy, what is your opinion on mini drivers?
I don't understand the point. Like 10, 15 years ago, they would have just been called the 2-wood.
They still are.
They are 2-wood. Like it's. I don't understand the concept that they're it's like they're making something new. It's a smaller CC driver with more loft. It's a 2-wood.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I do believe that there's a lot of people that a driver is too low lofted and doesn't produce enough spin for a lot of people.
That's moved that way. So that absolutely agree.
It's the same argument with the modern 3-wood and how most people probably shouldn't have a 3-wood in their bag and they have a 5 and a 7-wood. It's the same with the driver. There's nothing saying that everybody needs a driver and that's always going to be your longest club. A mini driver is just a 2-wood and that might be optimal for you. But it doesn't do what they say it does. It's not amazing out of the fairway. it's doesn't do anything more out of the tee box other than giving you the loft that you need.
Now, let's introduce, I have obviously done a video on this one, the secret weapon. That's a good head cover, by the way, anyway. Right, so what I like about the secret weapon, I can't call it that. What I like about the PXG mini driver is these weights at the bottom. But that's not to say a driver can't have the same weights. Just PXG really do well at adjustability. Now, when this was in its neutral setting, so the weight's basically neutral from the back and stuff like that, I didn't really like it at all. As soon as I moved the weights around so I had more weight in the heel, instantly transformed the driver, mini driver, secret weapon. And it works brilliantly. However, I think everyone would agree, with the exception of probably Andy, because he's slightly faster than me, I'm not slow. I don't swing it slowly. And even this is not, this is 13 degrees. So this is basically a strong 3-wood, AKA a 2-wood, within reason. I can get this off the ground, of course I can do, but it's just not. I mean, this is coming in so relatively shallow. I mean, great if you're playing links golf. This thing is going like a blooming rocket, literally, laterally, like that. Like Elon is off like that. The problem is that's going to hit the ground and bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce. I've got no clue how far this is going to go. So if this was, I'm in the fairway thinking about I am X amount of yards away and I'm going to hit my mini driver to get to the green, it could finish short, it could finish rolling straight through the green. I have not got a clue. And that's at my speed, at my level. And I have not seen any review of this where they actually give numbers, proper numbers, not just opinions or their feelings, that any mini driver has actually been what I see functional. Now this goes back exactly to what Andy was saying just a little while ago about the 3-wood argument. Most golfers should not use a 3-wood because they haven't got the speed effectively to use it properly. Well, that's even worse. So it now becomes an off the tee golf club really only. So if it's off the tee, the only reason I can see mini drivers being a functional use is if the golfer in question has just the world's biggest, they just can't deal with it. They just can't deal with drivers. They just have a mental block, they just hate them. And this is the classic thing of saying, I can't hit woods, I'm gonna have a 2-iron in my bag to tee off with because I can't hit woods. Because you get golfers like that. And so yes, you go down the mini driver route, and if you could convince them that the mini driver is obviously it's not a driver, it's a mini driver, does this, and it works, brilliant. However, a driver is still going to be better if you can use it. It's just physically better. So I'm lost a little bit, being honest. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, my 3-wood is 13 degrees, and I played at 12. So you know, I've got a little bit of a different story here, you know, but I don't understand. Like,
but your 3-wood, let's not mess around, is not that high. That face.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't see how those are playable off the deck, because the only way you can hit the center is if the sole's in the ground, and if the sole's in the ground, you've lost all club head speed. So, like, why?
Or
and
you
if
have
you
to de-loft this thing so much to get the golf ball up the face.
And the point of a driver is that, you know, the higher on the face, the better its flight. Off most drivers, low on the face is a horrible flight.
Look at the heat maps we do. Look at the distance factor heat maps. Look at the efficiency first. You look at it and it's green all over. Low on the face, of course, it's going to be green because there's not a lot of loft there. And it's going to transfer, even though it's not in line with the sweet spot, it's going to transfer a good amount of energy because of less loft, and you're going to get a green blob, massive green blob. If you turn into the distance factor maps where you're actually seeing how far you hit it relative to the middle, etc., blah, 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 you see just how bad the heel and low is on the face. And of course, if you can hit one of these kids from the deck, That is one thing you're going to do, is you're going to hit it propensity lower than you would do if it was on a tee. So I
I
get
mean,
it.
my stretch 3 wood, is the G400 stretch. The face is tiny. It's barely bigger than the ball.
Pings, generally speaking, have always been fairly low profile.
Yeah, so
Although the
I can hit the
440s are
center
bigger.
of that, no problem. But
Yep. The 440s, the brand new Ping 440s, the fairways are fractionally taller. There you go. For the people that cared.
yeah, and I mean, I guess like chat saying is like what 12-degree driver and a 3-wood shaft. That's even cranked up, even the 12-degree driver cranked to an extra half to the 13 degrees.
It's going to be more what people think forgiving, because the MOI is going to be bigger, higher, larger amount on a driver than it will be a smaller CC'd head. Andy, you know the maths on that. I don't,
Sure.
but it will. So it has potential to be more forgiving. Again, we use that term forgiving loosely, because the interesting thing, what we're finding the longer we do, and this is why we're pushing to do the driver, we'll get to the driver in a sec when it comes to the advanced metrics, we'll do that straight after this because it's a good follow-on for especially the next topic anyway, is the problem with low spin drivers, and the problem with what people think of spin profile. Actually, forgiveness, when you're looking at the consistency of distance from mishits, actually the low spin heads do really, really well. And when you're looking at the max heads, the higher spin profile heads, let's just take the Ping heads for example, their green blob for distance factor is relatively small because of the fact that they're affected by spin profile difference massively, because of the fact that you have a high-ish spin relative to the low spin, and then you gravitate anywhere low on that and it just spins up really quick and it just goes short. Where a low spin profile head's got a lower spin profile to start with, and so yes, you're adding spin, but it's still within a more of a sensible window rather than just climbing straight away that you get from a max head. And so forgiveness, I can't stand personally the 10K thing. I cannot stand it because, or moment of inertia. I don't like moment of inertia, this MOI thing, because all MOI does is talk about resistance to twist. It doesn't actually say anything to do with how the face geometry works to get that golf ball going the same distance that it should do when you don't hit the middle. And MOI is not the function of that. So, yeah.
And the thing with, so basically what we're saying, what they're trying to say is the higher the MOI, the less twist, the less gear effect. So that means less side spin. Well,
but you want that sometimes.
If you hit a draw, you want that left side spin, otherwise your ball doesn't come back to middle. Same as if you hit a fade, you need the right amount of side spin to bring it back to the middle. So if you're reducing that, you're forcing the person to change a swing to play the higher MOI club versus the lower MOI club. That means
you can go for a fit-in and go to the best and brightest 10K driver, and when you look at your dispersion pattern, you're wider because it doesn't gear. Like if you go to another driver with an 8,000, 8,500 MOI number, was it grams per centimetre cubed or something, and it's centimetre squared, how they measure it, I don't know. But effectively, what you're saying is that when you start doing it, you then don't gear as much, which people see that as more forgiving. It doesn't. If you're playing a certain flight or you actually physically just mishit it, you deliver a really good delivery but mishit it off the toe and it disappears off in that direction like it should do because of the roll and bulge, but it then doesn't come back because the face hasn't twisted to put that gear on the ball to get it back to target. It's short because it's not in line with centre of gravity. It will because you're applying that, and the fact it's not then come back, so you're offline and short.
I mean, I don't want to get into the MOI weeds, but I think there's something else. I think there are things I think we passed the point of diminishing returns on MOI a while ago. I don't since the G400, the first G400. I think that they got the pinnacle of the right MOI back then. Obviously, that club was just insane, and so and it, yeah, we'd have to go into a whole show just on MOI and how I think that the more MOI, they're getting the MOI higher by getting the weight further back, right? They're getting the weight further and further back with every generation. And I'm starting to see a correlation between the weight too far back making not mishits on the face. So it doesn't change the mishits on the face if your face is square, but if you have a face to path change, it creates a triangle with the weight further back that moves the CG so far off the path that you're losing efficiency.
Yes.
And that is actually making drivers less efficient, not more efficient.
Yeah, because I used to do this years ago and explain people when they're sort of like hitting their drivers and sort of like, here you go, that's a driver face, this is a driver shape. Yeah, this is a ping book, by the way.
Sponsorship over.
Yeah. So that's the middle of the face. Yeah, and you can get a golf ball. Again, this is the tightest golf ball, not a Mizuno golf ball, because obviously there's enough Mizuno around here anyway. That's the middle, and there's obviously, let's say that's the toe, that's the heel. Yeah, and when you've got a straight face to path, there's equal mass on both sides. I mean, this is very rudimentary because we're only talking in 2 dimensions, but you kind of get the idea. When you deliver a face open to a path, like this way, and you've got path going this way, face is open, people will gravitate their strike towards the heel. And why? Because if you draw the line of force through the head, when you twist it this way, if you go from the midpoint over across here, there's more mass down here than there is on top here. So they move their strike in line. And that is just on a 2D point of view. If you're talking about 3-dimensional center of gravity, which is sort of back here kind of thing, and then in line with, I mean, again, used on the triangle, effectively by tilting the face that much, either which way, you're then moving outside the level of the CG in line, and you're going to start adding, or not, tilt axis that you may or may not need to get the golf ball going back to where you want it to go.
But I think the MOI is now past its diminishing returns, and it's actually causing more problems than it's solving.
There you go. Anything else on, Alex says that there's also an aspect of how a club behaves on a swing robot versus how a person swings it, subconsciously reacting to CG location relative to the swing path. Yes, I agree personally, because I'm a chaser. And Andy, you've seen this a few times in my data sets. I'm a chaser. As soon as I detect subconsciously that the center of gravity of the golf club is not in line with center and is actually slightly heel biased or slightly toe biased, more so heel biased, my strike, my center starts biasing X amount of millimeters towards that point. And it's not a conscious thing. I'm just chasing the center of gravity or the best feeling or the highest smash or efficiency, whatever you want to call it, subconsciously. So it does happen. And then other people, not affected by it at all, they literally just hit it wherever they want to hit it, and then you get a good or a bad result. That's why fitting is so individual, and it's nothing like, if you were to go get 10 fitters, I said it before, you get 10 fitters, with that same person, they use the tools which they should have to measure things, not guess, and they do their job properly. At the end of it, those 10 fitters should come up with 10 very, very close results of the specs that they require. You do coaching it's different, because the coaching is an opinion. But you have to find out, first of all, if you're a chaser, which I am to a certain extent, or if you're not affected by CG whatsoever. So Alex, yes, you do have a point. Absolutely you do. Carl's saying if I find there's too much back weight, I don't seem to be able to close the face. Again, yes, you are right. There is a certain proportion of golfers that will be affected by the center of gravity of the head, depending if it's moved laterally across the face, heel and toe, so closure rate, or what people would see. Obviously, gear effect then is a completely different thing. So obviously, moving your center of gravity, either heel or toe, you hit out the middle, and you'll get either, draw or fade bias spin on that. But again, but other people, you change the weights, and they change their swing. They want to deliver a face open to a path, and their path is 10 across, and their face is X amount open, and that's the shot shape they play. You change them for putting the weight in a certain position to try and get them to close the face down, and they will do for the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots maybe. And then they start changing, and they'll start going back to how they were, because that's just what they want to do. So we are humans, and we are messy, and that's why you have to fit a human. So, for a bit of fun, I didn't see this initially. I've got to go on.
You missed the advanced data.
Ah, thank you. See, I knew I had you here for a reason. Right. So you're going to explain this one because I'm not.
All right.
Up there, we've got middle, toe, heel, high, low. If you can see that, Andy. What?
There it goes. It's popped up my side.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't see it until the stream. Yeah.
No, yeah, because you're 5 seconds or so behind.
Okay, so what's on the screen now is an example of the advanced driver data for 2 drivers. We won't name the drivers because there's no point at this point because this is still an experimental phase. So the top line, the white section, you're already familiar with. Middle speed, the smash factor out of the middle. Toe, heel, high, low, overall forgiveness, percentage per millimeter. Nothing new there. But now for the advanced driver data, we are calculating the overall bias of the driver. So in the top row's case, it's a draw bias driver. And we're calculating the draw bias to be plus 4 millimeters. So it's 4 millimeters towards the heel, which is producing that draw bias. Because that's where
that's
the
effective middle.
Yeah, the effective middle is actually 4 millimeters heel than the spin center. I was going to call it the spin center actually, rather than bias millimeters. The spin center is 4 millimeters heel. So that way, if you're on 4 millimeters heel, you're actually going to get no left or right spin. If you're towards the toe, you're going to get more than that. Anyway. So face speed, similar to the irons. Face spin rate, same as the irons. Distance potential, same as the irons. That's distance off the club speed. Launch factor, same as the irons. Percentage of delivered loft is produced into launch angle. Those are a little bit higher than traditional than the irons, and that's because drivers tend to have a lower CG position than irons because they've got so much more room to bury that CG into. So we're looking at 83 and 84% in these 2 line items. So spin high. Spin high is the amount in percentage spin loss you get per millimeter high on the face. So 1 millimeter high.
2,000 RPM spin profile head from the middle. Every single millimeter you go up that, you're going to lose 40 RPM.
Yep. So, at 10 millimeters, you're losing 20% of your RPM, which is like up to 400 RPM. And we know traditionally, like the maximum RPM loss you'll see from a driver is about 900, and that's like an extreme amount of high shot. And you probably won't even be able to hit it that high to get most drivers to spin that much lower. So yeah, spin high is how much loss of spin for a high shot. Spin low is the opposite, is how much spin you gain per millimeter low. And again, because the CGs tend to be lower to begin with, you gain more speed going down, more spin going down than you lose going up because you're getting closer and closer to the CG. You're already above the CG to begin with, and as you get closer and closer, it dramatically increases the spin.
Yeah, so even if you're in the middle, you're still in a state of spin reduction.
Yeah. And and that's not true. It depends on the CG location of the drivers. For a low spin driver, that's one. You know, it's significantly more than a regular spin driver. And then the toe spin axis, it's how much left tilt axis you get per millimeter away from the toe. So if you get 1 millimeter away, you're getting 2.59 degrees. At 10 millimeters, you're getting 25.9 degrees. Now, it depends on how far you're firing the ball offline as what's the right amount of tilt axis. But you know, 10 degrees is a normal amount of tilt axis for a driver. That's just a gentle fade or a gentle draw. You know, you start getting into 20 degrees of tilt axis, and now you're starting to see a real bend in the shot. So you know, you can see here that 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters, you're in like the normal territory of tilt axis. But you get to 10, 15 millimeters away from the center, and now you're starting to see real banana shots. And then the heel spin axis is the same in the other direction, so that spins right instead of left when you get closer to the heel. Now, obviously, depending on that driver's draw or fade bias, those numbers are going to scale differently left and right. And then the second row is just an example of a driver that we've noticed that has a fade bias, where it's showing the bias is 5 millimeters towards the toe instead of the heel, and then the rest of the values are the same.
And so it's like the last two, you say obviously toe spin axis and heel spin axis, you could then compare to golf clubs. Literally just, if we knew what they are, and we won't obviously say what they are because there's no point, but if they were driver A and driver B, which they are, you could see which one is more sensitive to tilt axis curvature than the other one. So the one with a smaller number, as in the bottom one, 0.78 and 1.5, has less propensity to curve when you move away from the middle.
Yeah, I mean that toe, the one with the fade bias is not prone to drawing very much. It always wants to fade, and the closer you get to the heel, the more it's going to fade. And then the draw bias one is pretty balanced both sides. You get the same amount of spin change from both sides.
It looks like it curves quite a bit.
Yes, it's got more curve, but it's a balanced curve, and depending on the roll, that might be perfect or not. So, by being able to compare these metrics across drivers, you could figure out which driver is going to fit your spin, your curve shape the best. Obviously, if you want to hit a fade, you don't want a driver that's very heavy draw bias and generates a lot of spin off the side spin off the toe, otherwise you'll never be able to fade it. If you hit a toe, you're basically just saying goodbye. And these are just the prototype examples. We've still got a lot of this. We don't have full. In order to produce this data, we have to have basically significantly more shots from each location. And right now we're producing data off the minimal of shots. So these values are not as accurate as we want, as we might want them right now. But in the future, they should be super accurate with the right dimension.
I'm now starting to think about setting up a fund me page for a swing robot, because my poor body is not going to take all the extra shots that I'm going to have to do to get all this data. Brilliant data as it is, and it is brilliant. It's going to come down to two things. One, me being able to hit all the shots needed, and two, me being able to explain it all, because I am not the overall expert on this. The individual underneath me is. And as I'm the person normally speaking on camera, it's how I deliver it as to how easy it is to understand, so people can grasp this information. Because I think from what Andy has just explained, if people can understand these numbers from a fitting point of view, completely gone has, I didn't know. I bought the driver and I thought, if you can, this is measured information to understand exactly how a driver works. And this is saying some of it, that say the club on top or the club on bottom, they act differently. It doesn't mean one of them is better than the other on certain aspects. It just means one of them will fit another person differently to another person. And if you know what you want, what you need, that's the importance of this information. And so this is why it's still in the development phase. However, I can see this is properly interesting. Right. Now let's talk about TaylorMade, shall we?
right. Is there any questions for follow-up on that? Anybody questioning that? I can't imagine too many questions that will...
Has everyone fell asleep?
Yeah, I think so. Does Tiltex have to swing plane? No, I mean this is the physical properties of the driver. So it doesn't if you deliver a different swing plane and a face to path change, it's not going to change those numbers. These are the physical properties of the driver. It's got nothing to do with swing.
There you go. So, I didn't see this video first. Andy sent it to me. It was in Discord, so a lot of people saw it as well. And I actually thought it was quite funny. Now, the TaylorMade driver video was... Oh, Andy, help me out. Who was there? It was Charlie Hull. There was Rory.
Tommy Fleetwood.
Fleetwood. Oh, go on. There was quite a few.
Look bad that I don't know the female golfers' names. Nelly, right?
Yeah, there was quite a few. Yeah, and they played a game of musical chairs, but with their golf bags. And so they had their golf bags, Charlie Hart and Nelly Corder. Yeah, Nelly Corder was there as well. Thanks so much, Eero. It was quite funny. So they had their drivers in there and they basically just walked around in a circle, kept walking around in a circle. And as soon as the music turned off, they had to stop at whatever bag they were at. Morikawa, Scotty as well. Yes, thanks. And grab the driver. And they had to try and hit it as straight as they possibly could do. And it was an offline, wasn't it? It wasn't the amount of curvature, it was the amount offline from target.
Yeah, final
line.
position. But yeah, which is the definition of dispersion.
Yes. And let's cut to the conclusion of it, the funny conclusion. And it was Rory was the funny conclusion. And it was amazing up until that point, just how bad professional elite level golfers are with drivers that are not fit for them. And this is the whole thing about custom fitting, right? People think that custom fitting doesn't make a difference, or more to the point, they don't actually think custom fitting makes a difference for them because they're too bad. That's a different subject and they're completely wrong on that one. But TaylorMade effectively wanted to see how tour players react when they don't necessarily know what they've got in their hands. Remember, the stuff that they use all the time, they know it intimately, they know exactly how it's set up. So they hit some shots, and some of them were okay, some of them were not so much, but it concluded really in the funny part of Rory actually stopped. When the music stopped, he stopped on his bag and his driver, and he hit his driver, and it not only was it one of the, if not the longest of all of them, but he hit it to within 0.3 feet of target line.
Something stupid.
Like, wow.
Nailed it. Perfect.
Like, very good. And so they did it again. And obviously everyone has a round, and every single time they do a round, you get the worst two, they drop out, and they do another round, worst two drop out. And so, of course, he done very well on that round at 0.3 of a foot away from target line. So he got into the next round. And anyway, then he had...
Nelly's driver.
It was Nelly Corder's, yeah. So, and let's say it's a little bit different to his. He then proceeds to hit this shot 50-something yards left. 50. And it was from the shot that he hit just before, which was actually pretty good at 0.3 of a foot offline and a decent distance. He then hit this shot 50-something yards left, and his reaction was just hilarious. When he just hit it, he went, oh, that's just gone. And he just, the tracer was just comical. And
it goes towards the advanced data. He was trying to hit a baby fade.
Yes.
And set up for a baby fade, and Nelly's driver was completely draw biased, set up to basically never go right.
Yep. And he's just delivered what he thought he needed to. The thing is, he knew that it was Nelly's driver, and he knew from them chatting that it's set up in a certain way. But there's a massive difference between seeing how something is, but then hitting it and finding out actually how it reacts. And okay, yeah, we are talking about the top golfers in the world, and that was his shot that he hit well. He hit out the middle, everything was good. He just face to path relationship was a little bit skew-if, and of course, with that being so heavily draw biased, the centre is not necessarily the centre, so that added a little bit more tilt. Yeah, so that was quite funny. Now, if he'd have done it 2, 3, or 4 more times, this is where the elite golfer comes in. Absolutely, he would have been able to adjust his swing, adjust his delivery to make that golf club work. They are that good. This is where it goes down to the classic, I'm not good enough to get custom fit, I'll wait until I'm better. Where, no, do you know what? Actually, they've got it completely the wrong way round. That you will absolutely see better gains the higher handicap you are. As a general rule, of course, higher handicap is a poor measure of many things, but as a general rule, what you'll find with higher handicappers, they've got a poorer face-to-path control and a poorer strike control, as a general rule. And when you get custom fit properly, and you're a high handicap golfer, you take away some of the inconsistencies of the driver and your misses are smaller. You cannot react to certain things that elite players can. Now, as long as I know the lie angle of a golf club, of an iron, let's say, I can play with it because I know what it will want to do. I can change my delivery if I need to make, if it's so far out, I can change my handle delivery so I can get it closer. Most golfers can't do that, so you need to be able to bend the equipment to suit the golfer's requirements. But it was hilarious. I generally speaking don't watch videos all the way through. I kind of skip them through and bits and pieces like that, but I did watch that one all the way through. It's not the longest video at all. And if I can remember, we'll stick the link in Discord so you can watch it. Because
it's still there. It just, it just shows you, like, some people beat themselves up because they can't hit a shot a certain way, and it might just be that you can't hit that club, that shot. Like,
Alex has said, Roy hitting the lead driver, draw bias drive at 157 yards left was excellent. Alex says it was 157, not 57. It was 150 something 7. You are quite right, but it was 157 feet, not yards. If you zoom in on the TrackMan display, you can see in the bottom FT. I can't think of what anything else FT stands for, assuming it's feet.
Well, it wasn't flight time.
Flight time. 157 seconds.
Yeah, or maybe a minute, 57 minutes.
Yeah, so I perceived that. I thought it was 52 point something yards, which is 152.3, whatever, which is 157.
It's a long way.
It is a lot, and if you imagine that a average PGA Tour dispersion, average distance, average everything else is effectively 30 yards left and 30 yards right, with a total of 60 yards total dispersion left to right. That was 57 of them one way, so that's a lot. Well outside what professional golfers are used to hitting. 57 yards is well inside properly fast swinging, poor handicap golfers. There's TaylorMade's next marketing campaign, 157 flight times. Yeah, that would be it. It just goes up though. That's the only thing. Reaches escape velocity. So that was quite funny in itself. So again, if anyone wants to watch that, we'll pop the link in Discord. And again, guys, if you haven't watched Discord before or used Discord, it's a great, we got the link in the description anyway, the Discord invite link. And of course, if you are a YouTube member, although I'm coming away, as you can see the scroll down the bottom, I'm trying to come away from YouTube memberships and moving on to website only memberships because it's getting ridiculously difficult to administrate 2 sets of databases for users and stuff. So anyone who is a YouTube member, if you can cancel and then go to the website when your subscription date finishes and then subscribe onto the website, I would be immensely grateful. Saves me a heck of a lot of work. So, right, for the final one, because I'm wary of time, etc. Thanks, Andy, for popping in the Discord link in the chat. Saves me having to do it.
You ever would.
Yeah, that's true. I've got too many other things I'm thinking about. Right. We are just now focusing on chat. Andy is now on his backup drink. I'm still on my normal YTD. Have we missed anything?
I think everybody was listening, not writing questions.
Everyone's asleep. The good thing is I can scroll up here and I don't have to mess around with all this. 369 says, by the way, love Mizuno 230 drivers. On the mid hits, they somehow gear just the right amount. That's good. Andy says the answer is we all need square or triangle drivers. Bring back the old square driver. Wow, did they... Oof, horrid. Iro says, I came in last, did we talk about Jay getting a robot? We did, definitely. I need to basically make one. So it's definitely not going to be the couple of £100,000 purchase you're going to get for a Pingman or Iron Byron or whatever they want to call themselves. It is going to have to be something that is created to do a certain task rather than anything else, which obviously requires quite a bit of work to do, but would be so cool if I could do it, because I could do all the testing I want to on the basis of not hurt my poorly little woeful knee, of which I have got physio tomorrow, sort of, you know, get the world's smallest violin out, to see if we can get that working again properly, because it's fine, it's doing all right, but it does restrict what I can do, and it's a little bit irritating 4 months on. And of course, just from a efficiency point of view, a swing robot will get all the data that we need in the least amount of shots, and I have to hit more. So it takes me longer, which means if it takes me longer, that means I can't focus on editing the videos. I'm spending time creating data sets where I could actually potentially just get the robot to do it for me. So much better.
Really violent.
Yeah. Keep going. Right, what have we got? What is the next test in the queue for videos? Now, well, I have got plenty of things to do. So one of them, oh my word, getting old. So talking about yes, they did write that on there. I didn't ask them to do it. So I have got the mini driver, got the 11 mini driver. This is the neutral head. You can see there it says neutral.
I would.
Yeah, the 11.2 would, yeah. I've got two other heads. I've got a draw bias head and a fade bias head. No difference in the weighting. They've hot melted it differently. 12 grams of hot melt, I think it was. One in the heel, one in the, I can't remember. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how they work. I've got that to do. I've got plenty, when I say plenty, I do mean plenty of compares that I need to do. But again, we have the website, so I can literally just say, go to the website. I have 3 of these still to do. And that one is that's the Dark Speed or DS Adapt X with the unicorn. That's upside down. Hang on, I'm not doing everyone justice if I give it sort of like, there you go.
Did they put on a tall velvet?
Yeah, tall velvet +4. One extra wrapper tape as spec.
On the butt side.
Say again?
It's not a whole wrap, right? I can see that it finishes about 3/4 down.
No, that's a full wrapper tape, but that's a +4.
Okay.
So, yeah. And that's got the Tour ADI 6
My dead?
stiff flex thing.
I was saying my mic's gone. Did you hit a button?
I haven't hit any button.
Oh, does it sound bad to you?
I can hear you.
Is it fine?
And when you talk, your Discord video source goes up. So
I don't know. They said I'm garbled. I blame you.
I've had enough, finally. So I've got three. I've got three of those drivers to do. I've also got the Shrixon drivers being delivered as well. I've got that, and I've got loads and loads of compare to do. I've got the 925 Forge versus 245 P790 i530. I've got the old 923 Forge against the 925 Forge. I have obviously got the black head. The black head, oh my word, I'm getting too old to stretch like that, is here, obviously. I'll be using that in the 923 Forge versus the 925 Forge. Very nice looking head, that. And I just got loads. But that's what I'm having to do. And then also, obviously, with what we spoke about earlier, which effectively is this, is the fact that to do this with all the driver, to get that information on there, I need to re-hit quite a few of the drivers, which is a little bit, yeah, but I do, to try and get the data sets. But there we go. That is basically it. Right, what have we got on the chat?
If you can hear me fine, it must be on your output, not my input.
Everything's fine. As soon as you talk.
Yeah, I'm talking. They're saying they can't hear me, or they're saying it's bad. I don't know. Whatever.
It's weird because as soon as you talk, your mic goes up like mine does. So it's coming in and it's chucking it out. So weird.
Rip.
Cool. Have we got anything? RIP Andy Mike. What was in that drink? Because you sounded better before. He's trapped in XL land. Is there still as much value in doing the compares as the website has the info? Spot on, Adrian. This is the thing. So I will continue. Ted's in the house. Hello, Ted. Hope you're well, buddy. This is the thing, Adrian's spot on with this. With the invention now of AskGolfNut.com, with everything in there, all it will be really is me hitting shots with both of the golf clubs and me saying that this golf club looks like this golf club looks like that. This golf club feels a little bit more this way, and this golf club feels a little bit more that way. And now let's go to the numbers and see how well they work. And effectively, all I'll be doing then is reciting the information straight from the website, because it has all the measured data on there. And all of the website members can already see every single potential compare that we have with 60 plus irons that we have currently to date on the database. So they can do, I mean, I don't know what that magical, what is that term, you know, when they have, there's a certain formula in there for understanding if you've got like permutations for like 3 things and permutations for 4 digits and what's that? How many different permutations can you have on a 3-digit number or a 4-digit number, or what, you know, when you sort of like, you can swap things around a certain amount of times, and you put another one, you can swap them around a certain amount of times, but then it comes to whatever that is, I'll put it on Discord.
If you get a 9-digit code, the number of possibilities is 9 factorial.
No, so it's a case of if you had 2, you'd only have like that one and that one, and then if you had 3, you'd have that one and that one, and that one and that one. And then, yeah, how many permutations you could have, and then you've got 4, you've got that one could then go with that one, that one, that one, and then that one could play with that one or that one. You know, you can kind of get, I'll find out what it is. But with 60 plus irons, how many different combinations you can put one against the other with 60 plus irons? There's a lot.
It's 60 exclamation mark, also known as 60 factorial.
Yeah.
60 times 59 times 58 times 57 times 56, so on and so forth.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You won't need that. So you've got plenty of compares that you can just look at if you want to on the website. It's a lot. So yeah, and okay, you've got a range of super game improvement irons, players distance irons, players caveat irons, and players irons in there. And yes, you're not going to be wanting to potentially put a player's iron, a blade, up against a super game improvement iron. You can do if you want to. And the greatest thing with how the website does everything, it is, for the most part on there, a loft for loft and everything adjusted. So you can actually see how one works compared to the other ones. You probably wouldn't want to compare game improve or super game improvement iron. I mean, that's an interesting blend, but doable, because obviously if you're thinking about having a super helpful high launching 5 iron, and you want to know what's the highest launching golf club out there, because you want it for your top end of your bag, because you struggle with your 5 iron, let's say, then you can go on there, find out, use the advanced data, see which one's the highest launch, and then add that in your bag if you wish to. That's the opportunities that you could use the website are endless. 60 factorial, in fact.
What smart guy figured all this out?
Say again?
What smart guy figured all this out?
Oh, it wasn't me. Jay, are you making and designating the chrome irons specifically for you? I wish. One thing I wish is a Mizuno comes out with another chromed set of irons. I just feel that they're not going to do it anymore. Ski350 says, do you have the replacement ZXi4 to test? No. Today, UPS collected the one that went back, or has now, well, not quite yet. It's probably in, where's it going to be? By now it's going to be in a UPS hub somewhere, on its way to Shrixon. Where are they? Aldershot, somewhere around that Guildford area. Somewhere there. Anyway, over there to get looked at and see if they're going to pull it to pieces and see if there's a problem with the head. But from a Shrixon point of view, they are building an exact replica of what I had and then shipping out a new iron to me. So as soon as that arrives, I will be doing the data sets, and then I'll be doing the numbers side and getting that video out for all to see. Anything else? 369 says, compare video makes sense if you care about growing your YouTube channel. There's a lot of people that only watch if when they buy a club. That's how they'll find your channel. Absolutely right. So I will continue to do it. I may change the format to save me having to do so much. It may well be a talking head and then referencing in B-roll what I have done on camera, rather than me talking on camera, hitting live as such, and then skipping over. I could do the whole video like this, and when I'm talking about the feel or the sound and the looks, I can then obviously skip to B-roll up on the screen of what it does look like and what it sounds like when you hit it and stuff like that. So that's possibly going to be the easiest way for me to do it going forward. And then reference every single thing to do with the website. The only thing I've got an issue with, and being honest, the only thing I've got an issue with doing it is the fact that the information which is on the website is for the members to see, and of course the more content I put out there, so every man his dog can see, it possibly may devalue a little bit, but probably not. It depends. I mean, I'm not going to be doing a compare on every single line, but we'll see.
What the people demand.
Yes, yeah. I think I'll keep the compares to when people comment on the videos, can we have this compare? And you look at the like button for that person who's put that suggestion across, and there's got a lot of likes on it, you know that people want to see it. And so that's what I'll probably end up doing. Andy at AskGolfNut, what are you replying to someone?
Oh, no, it was a question you missed. I was just pasting it so you didn't have to find it.
All right, you can read it. If not.
If I put that info into the self-fit tool, will it tell me to pick something that is heel biased, which will then bring the shank? No, I mean, no iron is that much heel and toe bias that it should. I mean, unless you're already very close to the shank, and then you pick something that's heel biased, and maybe that'll pull it close to your shank. But I don't see how it's going to cause you to. Club selection is going to cause you to shank.
No, it won't do.
Highly unlikely.
Andy's absolutely right. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about iron, because there is no shank on a wood. Although
Well,
that,
and there's
that has been done before.
there's no self-fit tool for the driver either.
Yeah, true. So what
That
you'll
would be
find is that people will, even CG chasers will move. They'll move to where the sweet spot is. And we've hit quite a few shots now with quite a few different heads, and we have noticed that certain heads are certain draw bias and certain heads are fade biased. I mean, the VGIO2, you remember that one, Andy? That is definitely a draw biased head. But when you're, and even when you're looking at from the initial ZXi4 data sets, that was heel biased in its most efficient part. But we're not talking 14 millimeters from geometric middle. We're not talking something or 20 millimeters, and obviously the shank starts around about 22. We're not talking that. We are talking a matter of 4. It's not huge, and so even if you are a 14 millimeter just banging it out half an inch from the heel every single time and going into something which is heel bias and its center of gravity, you're still 10 millimeters the wrong side of it. So it won't. If you could get something to move that much that you could get it in line with a 21, 22 millimeter, then maybe. But I mean, I'm not quite sure what that golf club would look like. What is the most draw bias driver you guys have tested? And he answered that one, don't know yet. Still have to hit a lot more shots. I do. 369 say, if I played a heel biased iron, currently intend to hit the heel, and sometimes is that the back end of what Andy? Yeah.
Follow up, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, you won't.
No.
I don't know of anyone who is heel biased on their strike and had any change in club that has then instantly gone to shank. The only time I've ever had that happen is in a fitting when you've gone too long on the shaft.
Well, he's asking the opposite now. If he plays something more fade biased, will that pull him away from the shank? Yeah, I'd say shorter club. What, a little flatter lie, shorter club?
Absolutely. I would initially try shorter shaft. Just see. Yeah, just see. But again, in the custom fitting environment, you've got different length shafts, so you can test it straight away with having to change by gripping down. You change the thickness of the grip, and it feels different and stuff like that. The great thing with custom fit environment is you have many different shafts. They're all different lengths. They've all got the same size grip and stuff like that. So you can test it, and it's really great when you're in that kind of environment because you can test anything you'd like. But yeah, initially I would say let's just see if we, by taking ½ inch off the shaft, and let's see what your patterns are. No different to adding ½ inch and see what your patterns are. If you start whacking it straight out of the shank, then you know you're fairly sensitive to length. And then of course if you go shorter and it brings you closer to the middle, then as I say, all you've got to do effectively is change the lie to suit, and then you're there. Brilliant, job done. No more heel biased hits. And if you're still at the heel, regardless of what you do with the shaft length, yep, there are people out there. Yeah, well, we'll have to see. One, is it because that's nice and easy one, Andy? Yeah, just move you back. Another one is basically ask you not to hit it there and ask you to hit it off the toe. People think, what? Do you know what? The amount of success I have had coaching people, when you identify what they do wrong, you basically just show them what they're doing wrong and you ask them not to do it anymore. And it's amazing how many times you fix and you think, did you book an hour or you booked 2 hours? So what are we going to do for the next, however? Yeah?
I'm the exact opposite. You tell me to do something, I end up I fixate. Don't hit the heel. All right, I'm going to hit and then I proceed to hit the heel 10 times.
Don't step on the grass. Don't step on the grass. Don't step on it. So, yeah, it's amazing what you can do with people when you just do it, when you educate them as to what they're doing, when they understand what they're doing. That's the thing. It's not importance in a coaching session or custom fitting, doesn't matter what it is, but the importance I feel anyway is when you're going through that process when I'm coaching someone, when I'm custom fitting someone, or did in the past, it was important to me that the individual not just knew what they were getting, but why. Why are they getting what they're getting? Why is it with their swing they're doing this, it requires that? Because without that, you haven't got the inevitable conversation of their improvement. If they do this, and that's what limiting their how they evolve going forward, their improvement of their golf, their handicap, then they need to understand where they need to improve to get better. And what I like to do, especially if you've got a golfer that is an avid practicer, someone who really is like concentrating hard on getting better and will work really hard, that what you do is then you don't put you kind of get their equipment set up that's going to help them make that change. Commonly there's too big a gap. There's too big a gap to get from where they are currently to where they need to be. You can't set their equipment to where they need to be because it's so far out of where they are now that it just won't work. So, but then you can't set them to what they are now because then their equipment is set to how they deliver now, and then the equipment is then not going to help them. As soon as they start moving into where they need to be, their equipment is not set up to be that way, and it's going to fight it. So you need to set the equipment up halfway, and this is where certain manufacturers like Ping are amazing because the amount that they can bend. That if you need to move a golfer, especially say from swing path out to in to out, commonly there is a huge dynamic lie differential when you start swinging from across to inside. So commonly across you have to upright the lies, and then commonly from the inside you flatten the lies off. That's not always a complete guarantee, but it's common. And so if you've got someone who's a 10 degree, and I've seen 20 toe down, that's the most I've ever seen is 20 degrees toe down. Now that is an impressive delivery. But if you've got a 10 degree toe down and they're X amount of degrees across, and you know full well they need to move to the inside and stuff like that, you're looking at trying to move their equipment into a position where they can get halfway there, and then as they improve, their equipment gets better and better and better because it's getting closer and closer to where it needs to be. They're still the wrong side. They still need to go more, but as they move away, that's when you get their equipment and then move it back to where the whole idea of progression. But there you go.
Funny you said 10 degrees down.
Say again?
I'm just saying this. You got the next question is about 10 degrees down, so you
is it?
have to there.
Oh, I didn't see that bit. Buck says, recently got an IXO sim and have been hitting it nearly daily since New Year's. Loving a new toy. Come in to find out that I have extreme toe down hit, 10 degrees or so. Could hack motion help figure out why? Okay, yes. Yes and no. So yes, absolutely hack motion. Bear with. I'm gonna have to do that because I don't necessarily want to show the ship date, the ship address. Hack motion is a great tool. So the old one looks like that. Well, the new one's slightly different, but it works just as well. The only thing that it doesn't work very, very well on is the old supination, pronation, that rotation of the wrist. But what you're talking about is ulnar radial deviation, and yes, it would. So you're someone who delivers massive ulnar, so high handle delivery. Yep. You could, and this sort of leads back into right at the very start. Who is it? Name withdrawn says, I noticed that you have a lot more wrist hinge with your driver than me as a result of one plane swing. It goes into that, we'll talk about. Yes, it would work. It will identify the fact that you are massively ulnar deviated. You know that already because you've seen that from your launch monitor. So again, that's not a surprise. I would love to see your swing because we are talking about you'd have to do something fairly funky if you are fairly neutral path, etc., and delivering 10 degrees toe down, or have some seriously interested in equipment setup specs to get 10 degrees toe down. Commonly, it's very much so a early extension, that kind of idea. Now, early extension isn't actually a fault. I want to get that one out there straight away. Early extension is not a fault. If you don't have to do upteen of different compensations to make up for that action, whatever the action is, we're just picking on early extension, then it's a swing characteristic. If you are then having to compensate for it in many, many different ways, and obviously that then leads into inconsistency, then it's a swing fault. And so you need to fix it. Now, again, yes, Hack Motion will be able to identify it or show it and then give you drills, etc. Because the coaching side of Hack Motion now is becoming extremely, very, very good, but it is very rigid. It is based on you should swing like this, you need to do like that. It is based on the whole idea of people swinging like a robot, and if you can, everyone getting close to a robot, then everyone will deliver this. That's true, but we are all different. So if you are going to use Hack Motion, absolutely agree, it's a brilliant, brilliant thing to do, but you need to do it in line with using it whilst being taught with your coach, I would say.
I mean, is there any thing added onto that with grip position? Like, I used to have a problem of my grip being very diagonal across my palm, right? And then as I got better, I migrated the grip being, you know, in the fingers rather than in the palm, and that tended to move my lie angle because of where I grip it in my fingers versus in my palm.
Yeah, you'll notice a massive difference in setup. So if you have like a putter grip, basically, I used to call it a putter grip because that's effectively how you hold a putter straight up into that part of the hand rather than into the fingers. You tend to then see a dramatic, and you'll notice it. I don't know if I can do this very, very quickly. I don't know if it actually works this way or not, but if this works, then hopefully, fingers crossed, I can go over to here and then I can actually do it. So, working or not?
Yep.
Yeah, see? Tech. Now, for people that do this, for people that are the classic, they get the golf club down by the golf ball, they get set to it, whatever it will be, yeah, and then they just put their hands on it like this. Well, that sets you straight away into the wrong part of the hand. To get it into the right part of the hand, you have to physically get your hand and bend it like this, which is uncomfortable. So that's why you get the common people just grip it up into here. And so when you grip it into your palm, as soon as you get to the top of your backswing, you can get your finger in there. You haven't got a secure grip of the golf club. So the single easiest way for people to get the proper grip, the easiest way to get it right in the fingers is so, so simple. If one thing is to take away from this whole podcast is this: you have your golf bag, you pick your golf club out that you want to use. The golf club is vertical. While the golf club is vertical, you put it in your hands. If you want to get it in the wrong part of your hands, you've got to bend your hand like that to get it in. You just go like that straight into it. Once you've got that, you've got it in your fingers. It's so, so simple. Grip it while you get it out the golf bag, vertical, in your fingers. You've got to do something fairly funky from there to try and get it back into your wrong part of your hand. There you go, nice and easy on that one, but that's the whole idea. If you were to grip it like this, the difference between what you have there, you can see very much so, I can see the toe is digging in the ground. If you have it so it's in the fingers, naturally it puts that bend in that wrist, and then you're talking about a completely different lie position from the start. Now, of course, we need to see that to see what you're doing, but Andy's right. I mean, it can absolutely have cause and effect on that one. Well,
I mean, it may be anecdotal too, but I think that was one of the reasons I was able to stop the outside-in flip, was having that not tendency for the club to when you wobbles at the top, so that you end up throwing it, because you know it's loose in the wrong part of your hands. Whereas I felt like it was in the fingers, it was more of the way that the club would come down to be inside, rather than if it's like putter stroke, you kind of way you swing.
Because what you get when you grip it up into like this pit rather than this bit, yeah, in here you get that bounce, you get this. And of course, when you get to the top of your swing and the golf club bends, because you're not grip it in your fingers and stopping it from moving, when you've got it in here, you've got this amount of golf club that can bend like this. And of course, when you're going for your transition, you get this bouncy thing, and then it sort of bounces back out again. Then you release all those angles, and effectively you get that kind of early release, casty kind of thing. So grip is imperative. You can have many different types of grip. I don't care if it's strong, weak, or anything else like that. As long as it's matched, I don't care. But gripping it in the fingers, incredibly important. Dream Sound, thank you very, 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 very much for that. I very much appreciate for the very, very kind donation. Giving a little bit of an AGN loving on that. So I will answer your question. Another little bit of thumbs up as well. Any word on getting the T150 in testing soon? So I have, again, emailed Titleist and asked them to respond. Again. And I wait on their response. Again. And we'll wait for another week or so until they don't respond again before I send another email again. Titleist is just useless. They really are. I get it, right? Every manufacturer has got different criteria to what they believe their channels need to meet to hit their criteria to allow some form of media partnership. I get it, I do. Not all companies are the same. Some companies feel that different channels create different audiences and more pull towards different things, and so I get it, I do. But to not even respond, that's the bit that gets me, is the fact that they don't even respond. They haven't got the decency. They're not, the professionalism, if I can say it, isn't there that they can even just saying, hi Jay, thank you very, very much for your email. I appreciate all the hard work you put into contacting us. At this present in time, honestly, your channel does not meet the criteria that we have set in-house to blah, 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 blah. It is not a difficult email. And if that's not the case, and there are other channels that obviously do have the access to the Titleist equipment, then a cynic would say that considering all the manufacturers know how the AskGolfNut channel reviews equipment, not done by on the golf course, hitting 7 shots, and seeing how good a golf club is from hitting 7 shots on a golf course with no measuring data whatsoever, or even certain information hit on a sim and going from that's either good or bad. That doesn't show anything. That is completely subjective, and they're making claims on how good or not an iron is based on pure subjective data and or opinion more than anything else. The fact that we do everything measured, I have had companies in the past question what I do and how I do it, etc., etc., and also other companies basically, well, they would, every opportunity they could do to send me equipment, they want to send me equipment because they are confident in their product, and they want their product, because they're confident on how well it works, to be shown how well it works for everyone to see. So if it's not the first, a cynic would say, why does Titleist not respond? Again, until I've tested it and measured it and see what these heat maps look like, I can't recommend anyone using them on the basis I had never tested it, and they still won't send me any for me to test. Make of that what you will. Oh dear. Right, Buck, you tend to be 3 to 6 degrees in to out, then I'm absolutely assuming that there is, as Andy says, there is a very distinct grip issue there, or very much so, you are doing some serious humping of the golf ball, aka early extension. I'd love to see the swing. Love to see the swing. Right. Golf Addicts in the house. Hello all. Cheers, hope everyone is well. Hope you're well, bud. What have we else got on here? Love the grip demonstration. No problem with there. Mind blower, apparently. There you go. Adrian, if you have a change from a strong to a weak grip or vice versa, what are the main changes that brings? Face angle is commonly the biggest one to start with, and the propensity for someone not to be able to hit the golf ball. Striking the golf ball from a dramatic grip change is really difficult. It just feels so bad. It does. It just feels. So as long as you've got it gripped on the fingers, again, you don't necessarily see too much of a lie difference. You may see a little bit because face angle and lie are somewhat connected, but strike just goes out the window, and face is just hilarious. So loft delivery as well, because that's the way you're talking about. Shaft axis twist, which not only changes face to path but also compromises loft, so you'll see a three-dimensional. Whoa. And have you ever, what is your grip? Are you strong, are you weak, or are you neutral on your grip?
I would say I'm pretty neutral. Like, I'm baseball grip, as we've discussed. I'm not thumbs to shoulders. I'm like halfway, your armpits, they talk about your thumb grooves to your armpits on both sides. I'm probably halfway there, so I'm probably a little bit stronger than I am weak, but with the baseball grip, I mean, I can't feel that way. But
So, what, as in your line between as in your thumb, does that go past? Does that go past your shoulder, this side,
no,
or does
it's
it go
inside?
So it's on collarbone.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Yeah, so that's sort of neutral-ish.
Neutral to strongish, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed an awful lot. Years ago, it used to be a case of the lines had to run directly vertical, or everything down, and that was neutral. But there's many different schools of thought in this one. But the best, most... Go on.
No, I was just about to say, this is the thing that I notice differently more than ever, is the trigger finger. I tend to have the trigger, this finger's way separated from the rest of my hands.
Yep.
I don't see a lot of people do that. But
I do.
It's always feels comfortable to me.
I do.
Oh, well, we both have baseball grips, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean, baseball grip's an interesting one. It's like, because baseball's like that, isn't it?
Just not interlocked, not overlapped. Not the overlap and not the interlock.
So I'm like that, and I have it as like, and I liken it to when people fish and you have the line that goes through your finger, so you can feel and it's just a feeler, and that's all it is. It's just getting a feeling of.
Yeah, I use it to test the transfer of the swing coming down. It helps me time the release point by feeling the pressure of the head on that finger.
Yeah.
But it's just me.
I mean, everyone's different on how they do things. I am weak, strong, weak, depending which way you want to look at it. I am stronger in my bottom hand. Excuse me, huge wind pops. In my top hand, sorry. In my gloved hand, I'm stronger, so I have a stronger grip. My line goes much closer to my shoulder, and where the non-gloved hand, the right hand, the bottom hand, is more neutral. But because I'm left-handed, I play right-handed, but because I am physically left-handed, my left side is my dominant side, my strong side. So my right is there to temper my left. The only time I will never change my gloved hand, my dominant hand, but I will change my bottom hand grip depending on what I want to do. So in a bunker, I don't change my left hand grip at all. So I preset the face open, grip it so it's preset open. And on my right hand, I weaken it right off. I really weaken the grip, so I'm like properly weak. That enables me then to swing and keep the loft on the golf club and not have my left arm or left wrist want to roll over, because I can't, because this one's weak. It will keep the loft on. But I mean, everyone's different on how they do different things. So
yeah, it's like when I if I decide to play a different shot, like if I try to open the face, close the face, I do exactly what you just said. Hold the club vertical to grip it, and then I change the face alignment, from the vertical position. If I want to close it, then I just hold it vertical and turn the logos, whatever amount I want to close it or open it. But in the vertical position, that way, your hands are always in the same position, and you're not. Because my friend does it on the ground, and I'm saying, and he changes the angle, then he just manipulates himself back to the same position.
Yeah. Again, that's the problem when you change people's grips and all they actually end up doing. When you say and they just move it. The no, but all you've done is you haven't changed your grip. You just twist the face, but you haven't changed your grip.
and then he ends up with the same position. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't hit shot shape like that. You're not actually you're doing your hand position, but your hands aren't gonna be in that position when you get to the ball. So
Yeah. Now there are certain things which are really good with that, because if you're trying to teach someone how to deliver a head into the golf ball, into impact, and they're really flippy. That's for people that say really early releases and like that. Then what you end up doing is you give them a grip where the face is 15 or so degrees shut, like left, seriously left. And if they flip that, that's going so far left it's silly.
like they can't, the ground.
But they can't change their grip. So it's 15 degrees left, their normal grip, and the only way they can get that face square is if they push that handle forward. When they start learning the relationship where you don't have to get rid of the angles here, you can hold on the angles, talking obviously hack motion, going back to what that does, obviously it does the same sort of thing. But to take the extension out and keep flexion in, and by doing that enables them to learn how to physically hit the golf shot with the handle leading the head, not the head leading the handle. But
I think that's
there's so many different ways.
Things that we could cover another time for people who tend to rethink how to come inside on the ball is by where you're pushing your hands through after the ball. You know, they tend to pull their hands round to the left through impact, and their brain says in order to do that, I actually have to come outside to come inside. You need to follow outside to be inside. You have to follow through outside, and I think
that's a really interesting point, because I have a slightly different view on certain things like that, and because you can quite easily draw the golf ball with the grip path at the point of contact and just prior and post actually moving left.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm talking about changing your swing path, not necessarily hitting a draw. Is that to change your path from outside in? Is you have to push your hands away from you? Is the
not from coming out.
Think about it.
Oh right, yeah, not coming from.
If you think about coming round on you, you'll tend to come over and round. So you don't want to finish left. You know, they think inside means finish inside, but actually coming inside means finishing outside.
Yeah, the nice and easy one was for me was like, well, if you look at most golfers which come across the golf ball, they come from high to low. If you think from high to low, hands high over here to low, where if you think in your swing, what you want to do is you want to go from low to high.
Yeah, the only way to get high is to be,
You get a different way, but I mean, there's so many different things you can use for different people. That's why, from a coaching perspective, it's different. You see, this is why I prefer custom fitting to coaching, because coaching, there is so many different ways of doing the exact same thing. You go to 10 different coaches and you'll get 10 different ways of getting to the exact same destination. You always want to get from here to there, but you go to 10 different coaches that have all got different ways of getting you there. That's why coaching is opinion, completely different ways of getting you to where you need to be, where custom fitting is effectively, it's science, it's maths, it's physics. That's where you need to be.
Rather than data, you change some mentality is learning how to change people,
and that's what makes a good coach or not, is the ability to have multiple ways of doing the exact same thing, because not everybody learns the same way, not everyone even understands the same amount, and so you give one person one feeling and they run with it straight away, and you think, oh, that was easy. And your next person comes in and they've got a similar problem as most golfers do when it comes to swinging across or wherever it is, and you go, hey, I've got this licked, I'll just say this, and he doesn't do it. You think, what? But it worked just a second ago. Crap, what do I do? And yeah, that's what makes a good coach, is being able to effectively have multiple ways of doing the exact same thing. David says, have you reviewed the Srixon ZXi4 yet? No. Rewind on, so when this finishes, if you want to rewind, you can see on the right hand side here, we have the AG Ender. That was mine. on
That's
there.
your contribution.
That's definitely, yeah. The whole thing was my contribution. I was proud of that. The second point of the agenda for today was talking about the Strixon update, and so I haven't got a timestamp or anything else like that because I'm keeping track of it. I've been producing stuff as I was going along, so yeah, my eyes are doing different things. But we do talk about the situation around the Strixon ZXi4 and what's happening with it. It will be coming. Not quite yet, but it will be coming. But if you want to watch that, you can do, and that will explain every single thing you need to know about the ZXi4. Cool. Right. Last one, and then we are gone. So any opinion about Jumbo Max grips? They make you naturally grip more in the hand than the fingers. Okay, so what have I got here? Because reason I've got obviously the secret weapon in my hands. This is a oversized grip. The first thing when I got the secret weapon, the PXG mini driver, the first thing I felt was, holy sugar plums, this grip is massive. Like, it's cricket bat style mahoosive. Compared to what I normally have a +4, standard +4, which is it's reduced taper, so it's slightly thicker at the bottom hand than it is normally. And I have an extra wrap of tape, so an Une Extra, which is 1/64th or something more of an inch, which is not a lot, but I can feel it. But I just want that fraction more. This thing, holy, yeah, this is big. This is real. So it was like properly massive. I don't have any problems. It's still in my fingers. Now, I haven't got bad size hands, but this is big, but it's still way in the fingers. So even if it was so big, I could still get it in my fingers. If you put it in your palm of your hand, regardless of the size, it's still less secure. It needs to be something on the lines of, I don't know how thick this would have to be for me to even want to consider gripping it like this. I will always grip it like that because that is the most secure way I can grip something with the least pressure needed. So this is the whole thing with grip pressure. If you grip a golf club properly with the most points of contact, and that's the whole idea of finger grip, not hand grip, is that you can put the same amount of pressure onto, or friction, you want to call it, when it comes to the grip, with the least amount of force. You don't want to be like proper white knuckling. If you've got an insecure grip, it's waggling around something chronic, which is going to mess up your transition, something chronic, but you've got less control of it. This is why it's imperative you have it in your fingers. You can have a strong grip, weak grip, don't care. As long as it's matched, it's fine. How you have that grip in the fingers is imperative to you going forward to have a good control of you understanding where that end is pointing. And Jumbo Max, yeah, they are big, but it still wouldn't change me from, it would still always be in the fingers. Bear in mind, a cricket bat.
Any correlation between grip size and shot shape? Like, I just don't see there being a direct correlation between those things.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Ping. I may be wrong on this one. I think it was Ping. Ping was doing a test. They said to the 100 or 1,000, whoever it was, golfers in this test that they were going to do a shaft test. So they got all the shafts and they put black bits on them, so tape, so people thought it was a shaft test. So they weren't being shown. They were doing grips instead. And they showed after that, there's no correlation between it. Yes, there were some people did have a pattern of you give them the fatter grips and it would go out to the right, and then the thin for right-handed golfer, and then the thinner grip, it would go left. So there was correlation for a very small amount of people. But then exactly the same from the other side, there was correlation to the people that done the exact opposite. And in the middle, you had just a myriad or just a mess of just bleh, of mess.
I mean, I would never buy grip size based on to change my shot shape. It's about your hand size for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the classic grip size, hand size, grip size. I have what feels comfortable. If you've got small hands like thick grips, have thick grips.
Tiny hands.
Yeah, I mean, I've got decent size hands, but it doesn't.
I wear a cadet glove. It's my
Yes,
big
you got baby hands, haven't you? So I fit into a medium, but when I say I fit, my gloves when I put them on are literally like a second skin. They are properly on there. I don't like any gap in my glove at all. It has to feel like it's bonded to my skin.
Mine are quite wide, normal wide, but they're not long. So when I wear I don't like it when the palm is too tight. You know, when you feel it stretching between your palm, and I don't like that. So like the cadets are wider than they are shorter.
Yeah.
They're shorter,
Yeah.
they gotta be wide, and they
I
fit
got
my
quite
hand
long
better.
fingers, so but there you go. Right, so that's been done. I think everyone's, that's what she said, says Golf Addict. Wouldn't have been a live stream without one of them. Right, guys, hope everyone liked the podcast. It went on for a little bit longer than I actually thought it would do, but we had got a few things to go through. So thanks very much to Andy for popping on. Guys, if you like this kind of idea, doing a podcast where Andy has to be forced to be on here talking with me and explain a set of things, by all means, get down in the comments on also Discord. For the people that watch on Discord, let us know what you thought about this and what we could also do in the future. Well, obviously, we've got our agenda on the right-hand side where we have the opportunity for you to have your topics spoke about as well. So if you want to put different ideas also to us on either YouTube comment or Discord or anything else like that, feel free. Just go crazy and then we'll pick out some random ones if you want to. Where can I find the Self-Fit, Steve says? On the website, www.askgolfnut.com. That would be under the gold tier section. That is the top tier, but with the top tier, you get the Self-Fit app, which is amazing in itself. However, you also do get every single tier underneath. So you get obviously the silver and the bronze in with the gold tier as well. So the gold tier will give you everything. Yes. And as Andy is right, you would also do get all the early access stuff. So when I do reviews, obviously the information that I get prior to the review being released is already up on the database, but it's disabled because it can't be out there until the video is released. But from a gold tier point of view, you get early access to it. So even though it's disabled for the bronze and the silver, as gold, you get to see it earlier than anybody else. I'll check it out. You're welcome to have you over there, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the gold tier loveliness because there is more and more to come, especially on the driver's side very soon. Right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thanks very much to Andy for popping on. Thanks for explaining all of the weird and wonderful things that we've been talking about. And we'll catch everyone next week for, it's either going to be a live stream or it's going to be a podcast, depending on if you want him back. I'll let everyone else say if they want it or not. Right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it as always, and we'll catch everybody again soon.